Welcome to Buddha's Teachings. We all know that forgiving is difficult, right? It is easier said than done. Now, even in forgiving, it is very easy to forgive for the mistakes that other people have done to us, but it is really difficult to forgive for our own mistakes, for the mistakes that we have done in the past, right? So many people, most of us, worry about the things that have happened in the past, about the things that we said in the past, about how we acted in the past, how we lived in the past. We get stuck in these mistakes, and we waste a lot of time, right? But the Buddha teaches us a way to look at these mistakes, how to move on, how to move through them, and how to grow through them. So, in this video, we are going to discuss how we can deal with the mistakes that we have made in the past, how we can correct them, and how we can deal with them. I want to share with you how the Buddha advised monks who had made mistakes and how they received guidance on dealing with it. The Buddha says, "For it is growth in the training of nobles to recognize a mistake for what it is, deal with it properly, and commit to restraint in the future." So, the Buddha says the first step in understanding and dealing with a mistake that was made in the past is to accept it, to see the mistake as it is, to see the wrong thing as a wrong thing. This is called acceptance. Now, one of the most difficult things for us to do is to accept that we have made mistakes. Why? Because there is something that hurts us in our minds, right? It is a big problem, and that problem is nothing but the ego. We always think, okay, I am right, I am correct, and I will never make mistakes. But the reality is, we are all human. We all have imperfections. We all have defilements in our minds, and so we make mistakes, right? There's a saying that goes, as long as you make mistakes, you are human. So understand, you're human, and you make mistakes. The nature of your mind is to make wrong choices, wrong decisions, and to make mistakes. And that's okay, right? By understanding the nature of your life, that you are human and you make mistakes, you can accept it. When you accept it, you don't hate yourself. Now, the problem is not the mistake. The problem is worrying about it, brooding over it, holding on to it, and wishing, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I hadn't acted like that. This way, we waste a long time, valuable time that we could use to create something better in our lives. So the Buddha says, accept the mistake, right? Accept that you have made the mistake. Remember, acceptance is the first step of healing. Acceptance is the first step of healing so that you don't hate yourself, so that you are not at war with yourself. Now you open up your mind to move on. The Buddha says, see the wrong thing as a wrong thing, right? See the mistake as a mistake and accept that you have done it. The first step in dealing with a past mistake or wrong action that you have done is to accept it. After accepting, now what to do? The Buddha says, now reveal it to someone who can understand you, right? Confess it. How to do that? Find someone who can understand you, who can give you good advice, and who won't judge you. Then say to them, I made this mistake. This mistake happened from me. Now, why should you confess it? When you confess, you're sharing what is inside you with someone who can understand you. There are many good things that happen when you confess. One thing is that your mind becomes free, right? Because after making a mistake, one thing that keeps criticizing us is our mind, our own self, right? So, understand that when you confess, you can free your mind. Your heart is not complaining to you anymore, and you have opened yourself up. That is one good thing that happens when you confess. Also, you get good advice on how to deal with it. Sometimes there are problems we cannot deal with alone, right? You don't have to face each and every problem by yourself. You can ask for help. One thing that is really difficult to do is to ask for help, right? But if we ask, the help will be given by the right people. That is why the Buddha says, do not go around telling your mistakes to everyone, but find at least one person. We all can find at least one person who can understand us, who doesn't judge us for our mistakes, and who can give us good advice. This is the benefit of having noble friends around you. So, the Buddha says, confess it. Open up to someone who is wise and who can give you advice. Then, the Buddha says, the next step is to take the right actions to prevent it from happening again, to avoid making that same mistake repeatedly. The Buddha says to be restrained in the future, to not repeat the mistake over and over. If you make the same mistake 100 times, that is regression, right? But 100 different mistakes is progression. We will make thousands of mistakes in this life, but if we take each one as a lesson and resolve not to repeat it, we grow from it. Understand that every difficult situation, every mistake you make in life is a great lesson. The problem is, we think we should never make mistakes, that we should be perfect. But in reality, we are not. So, acceptance, confession, and taking the right actions to avoid repeating the mistake is the way to deal with our mistakes. Remember, as long as you are human, you will make mistakes. Accept them, confess them, and then take the right actions to learn and grow. Keep this in your mind. Nam Buddhai. If you found this advice valuable, make sure to subscribe to my channel, Buddha's Teachings. By joining, you'll gain access to more wisdom from the Buddha's teachings, practical guidance on living a mindful and fulfilling life, and tips to cultivate inner peace. Subscribe now to continue your journey with us. Let's grow together in wisdom and compassion.